Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're looking at what seems like a really simple source, right? It's just a transcript. Two friends, Emma and Jake, meeting up for coffee. Haven't seen each other in 3 years, but we're gonna treat it like high-level data.
Hmm.
Our mission here is to kind of cut through the small talk, and really pull out the specific language, the cultural cues, even the specialized vocabulary that's sort of hidden in there. We want to give you the shortcuts to understanding both how people reconnect casually and the specifics of coffee culture, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And if you really look at it, this conversation, it's almost a masterclass in, well, efficiency, linguistic efficiency, how people use shortcuts. We have this 3-year gap, right? So they need to rebuild that shared world, like immediately.
Yeah.
And they don't just do it with, short sentences. They use shared cultural terms, things that act as shorthand for intimacy, really.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. How they ground the relationship again. It's almost instant, isn't it? They jump right into shared history. Not just vaguely like remember college, but like super specific stuff. Like Jake apparently pretending I understood some deep poetry at a book fair years ago.
Right. And that's fascinating because those aren't just, fond memories floating around. They're actually functioning as,
Yeah.
well, the technical term might be referential cohesion markers.
Okay.
Basically, they're tools, specific linguistic tools they're using to rebuild the frame of their friendship. When they bring up Emma's old short story, the weirdly emotional one about a lost umbrella,
Yeah, I remember that part.
well, that confirms their shared history, even the slightly, awkward bit. It confirms it's still active, still shared, and bam, that 3-year gap, it just sort of collapses.
Okay, that makes sense. And then it feels pretty natural when they shift to ordering coffee because that also seems to need this kind of shared knowledge, right? Emma goes for a flat white. What's that choice telling us? Specifically about her kind of coffee knowledge.
Well, the flat white, that's a really potent social signal, actually. It's not a basic order. It kind of bypasses the simple stuff, signals she operates in a certain knowledgeable tier of coffee culture. It's her efficiency shorthand. It says, look, I'm a regular, I know what I'm doing, and I value, balance over just volume or sweetness.
Right. But then Jake, he's way more descriptive. He picks the iced caramel macchiato, and he lists why. Sweet, creamy, strong, and he points out the homemade caramel syrup.
Yeah.
So if the goal is this linguistic efficiency you mentioned, why list all that? Why not just say, I'll have something sweet?
Because that description, that's doing something else. It's acting as a kind of preemptive quality assurance. He's showing he gets the complexity of the drink. He's sort of validating the coffee shop's quality before he even tastes it.
Okay, interesting.
And then you get that great little phrase when he decides, you sold me.
Right.
It's a much punchier than just, okay, I'll have that.
Yeah, you sold me.
Right. It implies he's been convinced, like a successful pitch. It subtly brings in this, well, almost capitalistic layer to just agreeing, which, contrasts really nicely with that running joke about his usual drink.
Well, yeah, the instant coffee with too much sugar. His morning energy potion.
Exactly. So you see the contrast between the specialized language and the very basic default.
Okay, got it. So let's connect this really specific vocabulary, like flat white or homemade syrup, to the actual place they're in. They chose this coffee shop because the transcript says it has a nice vibe and is not too noisy. You hear nice vibe all the time. But what does focusing on the setting like that signal? Culturally speaking?
Well, I think it signals a really critical shift in how we maybe view public spaces now. They're not just looking for, somewhere that isn't loud. They need the space to be an active tool, a tool for low friction interaction, maybe even concentration. That focus on a quiet, comfortable environment. It connects directly to Emma mentioning she started a blog, right? Posting random thoughts, travel stories. The environment isn't just background. It's actually enabling her productivity, maybe, and definitely enabling their connection.
Right. So, okay, we've taken this pretty casual chat and really pulled out some dense stuff. From those, what were they, referential cohesion markers?
Yeah, the memory tools.
To rebuild the friendship, to the sort of hidden meanings in ordering a flat white, and even practical little phrases like, you sold me, that you can just, use.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, I think, is that Jake actually says he misses just hanging out, talking nonsense. The whole point for them is to slow down, right, to actually connect. So here's the thought I want to leave you with. If their dialogue, their whole goal, is ultimately about finding a moment of calm, of real interaction, what complex, specific cultural vocabulary, like those coffee terms maybe, are you relying on today? without even thinking about it, to communicate efficiently that you just need. A moment of peace, a bit of depth. Think about the kind of hidden knowledge required just to ask for or create quiet in your own day.
Okay, welcome to the deep dive. We've gathered some really interesting source material on modern hobbies. We're trying to get into not just what people do, but, why they start, what they're really looking for, and also that big challenge. How do you actually keep it going?
Exactly. And our goal here is to kind of synthesize all that, look for the patterns, see how these hobbies maybe balance our lives out, focusing on things like mental relief and maybe picking up actual skills.
Yeah, and if you look at the range of activities people mentioned, it's pretty broad. There's definitely a spectrum. You've got the creative, maybe social stuff on one side, like painting, landscapes were mentioned a lot, mountains, the ocean. Often people doing it together, like a small Saturday art group.
And future plans too, right?
Okay.
Someone mentioned wanting to try pottery. Oh, and photography, getting a secondhand camera, wanting to capture like random moments.
Yeah, specifically aiming for those artsy black and white shots. But then contrasting that, you have the more physical or practical things.
Like jogging, that came up. And the reason given was really specific, just to clear my head.
Yeah.
So less about creating something tangible, more like a mental transaction,
Totally. A reset. And then there's cooking. That was a fascinating one in the sources. We saw this whole journey someone took from like burning instant noodles.
Yeah. And that amazing phrase, butter, noodles, and regret. We've all been there.
Right. But they went from that to making, quote, real deal pasta, homemade sauce, garlic, the works, and learned it all from watching YouTube videos.
Which is interesting. It's skill building, but almost feels like we call it survival based early.
Yeah, it's like upgrading a life skill you kind of need, especially cooking. So whether you're chasing that creative flow with painting or just trying not to burn dinner, the sources make it clear starting seems easy enough. It's sticking with it where everyone hits the same walls.
And it's almost funny how universal those sticking points are, no matter the hobby. Procrastination is a big one, that classic, well, I'll draw tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes.
Or just the feeling that adulthood means, quote, fewer hours in the day, which feels true sometimes, and often made worse by, well, distractions. The sources specifically called out binge-watching shows we don't even like that much.
Oof, yeah. That hits home. That inefficiency. It's like the hobby stops being fun and just feels like another chore you failed at.
Exactly. Which brings us to the payoff, right? If it's so hard to stick with, why do people keep coming back?
Well, the sources point strongly towards psychological relief, pure and simple. Painting, for example, was described as giving a sense of calm. People explicitly said it was relaxing.
But the deepest thing I thought was the idea of forgetting about time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's huge because our work lives are so structured, right? So task-oriented. Forgetting times is like the ultimate escape from that pressure. It's realizing, like the sources said, that life isn't all about work.
It makes sense then why people need a balance. The sources seem to suggest that. Like you need the mental escape of jogging, maybe, and the satisfaction of making something real, like good food.
Right. It's possible that relying only on one kind of payoff, like just abstract creativity, could lead to burnout faster. Maybe you need that mix, that sort of emotional release versus building a functional skill to keep things going long term.
So I guess the main takeaway for you listening seems to be this. Hobbies aren't really about becoming a master. It's more about enjoying the process, the act of learning itself, even if it's slow and messy, low stakes.
Yeah, just enjoying the attempt seems key. That's the ideal, anyway. But let's leave you with a final thought to chew on, something that bubbles up from the sources. If a hobby brings all this value, the calm, the skills, forgetting time, all that good stuff, what happens at the boundary? What happens when people start thinking about turning that passion, that pure enjoyment, into a side hustle?
That's the big question, isn't it? Does bringing money and work into it immediately change that original joy? Something to think about.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's a bit different today. We don't have the usual report or, journal article.
No, it's actually a chapter test.
Right, from my little island primary school. It's for their grade P5 ESL students, semester 1. And the topic is Unit 2, Food and Health.
Exactly. And what we're doing, our mission here, is really to quickly pull out the core knowledge these kids are supposed to have.
Yeah, what are they really expected to know?
And it's this mix, isn't it? It's grammar, sure, but also health science, practical stuff.
It really feels like knowledge they can use immediately.
That's the key.
Yeah.
It seems to cover 3 main areas: health facts, English quantifiers like for shopping, and even some basic like symptom vocabulary. Very practical.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. Area 1, essential health and nutrition. What are the absolute must-knows here?
Well, the test is pretty explicit. Question 1 asks why a balanced diet is important.
And question 3, why are vegetables good for us? So, basic but fundamental.
But it goes a bit deeper. They need to know about different food groups, like the number of groups. And it highlights specific ones, like high-protein foods and why dairy is useful. That comes up in question 5.
And the function piece is there too, right? Like protein, helping the body grow strong. I think that's in the complete the text section.
Yes, exactly. They have to understand the why. It's not just naming foods.
And then there's the language around health advice. The modal verbs bit.
Yes. Need, should, must. Getting that right is important.
They give that example sentence. You blank eat lots of vegetables. You've got to pick the right level of urgency.
Yeah. Is it just a good idea or is it like essential? That subtlety matters, especially cross-culturally.
Okay, so that's the health part. What about area 2? Precise English for shopping, basically.
Right. Quantifiers and classifiers. This is often a big hurdle in ESL. Countable versus uncountable nouns.
Precision seems key here.
Absolutely, because that's where communication can break down,
Yeah.
In a shop, asking for the wrong thing.
They have that section where students have to correct common mistakes. Things like...
Like, she ate much sandwiches.
Right. Should be many. Or, he doesn't have many money.
Which needs to be much. And the tricky one. There is a few sugar.
Which should be a little sugar. It seems really specific.
It does, but think about clarity. If you ask for a few sugar, what does that even mean? It's about functional commerce.
Makes sense. And it's not just much or many. It's also about those classifying words, the container words.
Exactly. Like recognizing a head of cabbage. That's quite specific vocabulary.
And they have to complete phrases too, like a blank of soup or a blank of bananas.
Could be a carton of soup, maybe a bunch of bananas. It's that real-world grocery store language.
Okay, so health, shopping, and then area 3 takes, a surprising turn.
Yeah, it gets quite clinical, doesn't it? Symptom recognition.
Matching patients to their symptoms and guessing the illness. It feels like a blend of health awareness and pretty specific vocabulary.
It is. And they need to memorize these symptom clusters. So you have Jessie with a sore throat, fever, body aches.
Sounds like the flu, maybe? A virus?
Probably. But then compare that to Marcy. Stomach ache, diarrhea, nausea. Totally different set.
Right, more digestive.
And then Shandy. Dizziness, headache, blurred vision. That points somewhere else entirely.
Neurological, maybe? Or eye-related?
Could be.
Yeah.
And finally, Brad. Headache, but also his tooth and gum hurt.
Okay, so that's likely a toothache.
You see, it's teaching them to observe carefully and use the right words to describe what's wrong, which is, incredibly important if you actually need help.
So it values that critical observation skill, applying vocabulary to real life.
So if you put it all together, what this test shows us is an educational goal focused on real-world competence, functional literacy.
It's not just about passing the test itself.
No. It's about preparing them to, look after their health, buy groceries without confusion, and, tell someone clearly if they're feeling sick.
It's quite holistic when you look at it that way. Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listener. The very last task on this test asks the students to write a paragraph describing a supermarket. And they have to use at least 3 of those classifying expressions we talked about. So imagine your own kitchen right now. If you had to describe it using, say, 5 precise classifying expressions, maybe a carton of milk, a loaf of bread, a jar of jam, a bunch of grapes, a pinch of salt, how easily would someone from a different background understand exactly what you mean?
That really is the core of functional language, isn't it? Making yourself understood clearly in everyday situations.
That's the true test.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into some fascinating source material. We're looking at the Asian English Olympiad 2024 contest, the state round for grades 5 and 6. Our mission? To kind of unpack what's expected of these young students, the standards, and maybe some surprising rules. Okay, let's dig into this.
Yeah, the first thing that, it really jumps out is just the pace. We're talking level 3, grades 5 and 6, right? And they get just 75 minutes for 50 questions. That's fast. It's a test of strategy right off the bat.
And the rules themselves, they seem incredibly strict. Rule 1, for instance, automatic disqualification if you don't fill in every single detail. Name, ID, school, everything. Does that, actually test English? Or is it more about focus under pressure, like returning within 10 minutes if you leave your seat?
It definitely sets a tone, a very high-stakes competitive tone. The rules are about precision, solemnity almost, and they're really strict about no replacement contestants either, so you have to be prepared, period.
Right. But then the scoring. Yeah. This is where it gets interesting, strategically. 2 marks for a correct answer,
Yeah.
okay. But crucially, absolutely NO penalty for wrong answers.
Exactly. And that absence of penalty, it's key. It really connects to Rule 10, which basically says, look, this is a contest, not a regular exam. It even says, do not expect to answer all types of questions.
Ah, okay, so if you're not penalized for guessing.
Then you absolutely should guess. The best strategy isn't caution, it's making sure you answer every single question. Maximize those attempts. You have to finish.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift to the knowledge itself. Because for 5th and 6th graders, this seems pretty advanced. The grammar section alone. They need to know conjunctions like yet, unless, sophisticated stuff. And complex verb tenses, too, like the present perfect progressive. Knowing how to say have been playing correctly, that's expected.
And it's not just the mechanics of English, which is already quite demanding. It's the sheer range of general knowledge woven in. It feels like they're testing critical thinking, cultural awareness. You see questions touching on science, like AI ethics, even bits of history like ancient Egyptian magic.
Yeah, that blend is surprising. The reading comprehension, for example, had some fascinating bits. I remember one passage about African elephants
Yeah.
showing complex emotions like grief and empathy. Really quite profound.
Exactly. And another interesting point from the sources challenges a common assumption. It mentioned that while kids might have the edge with pronunciation, adults can actually get better at mastering grammar and vocab over time.
Which brings us to vocabulary. I look at the opposite section, and honestly, wow. These students need to know words like stoic and its opposite, emotional, or immaculate versus flawed, transient versus enduring. That's quite a high level.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then there are the idioms. Fluency here means understanding these nuanced phrases, like buried the hatchet. You have to know that means resolving differences, or knowing what it means if someone rained on her parade. Spoiling a plan, basically.
So when you put it all together, what's the big picture here? It seems like success demands, well, 2 very different things. On one hand, this incredible mechanical precision, following rules, nailing grammar. But on the other hand, you need this really broad, almost globally aware knowledge base. Science, culture, ethics.
Precisely. It suggests the best preparation isn't just drilling grammar rules, right? It's more about fostering a genuine curiosity, understanding how language works across all sorts of different fields, which kind of raises an important question, doesn't it?
Yeah, thinking about that contest rule again, do not expect to answer all types of questions. And combining it with the no penalty rule. How does knowing you won't be penalized for being wrong fundamentally change how you, the listener, might approach high-stakes situations? Whether it's learning something new or a challenge at work.
It shifts the focus from fear of failure to maximizing opportunity, perhaps.
Maybe so. Definitely something to think about. That strategic element is a really interesting takeaway.
Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're heading into the supermarket. Our source material. It's just this, well, seemingly simple chat between 2 shoppers, Lily and Mark. And our mission here is to use this everyday kind of talk to, quickly unpack the language and the psychology behind how and why we actually shop.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You immediately get this snapshot of consumer dynamics. You've got Mark, right? He's the practical guy, the list maker, milk, eggs, bread, coffee. Pretty standard. And for him, the way the store keeps changing things around.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating. He calls the whole thing a quest.
Yeah, but not in a fun way. And then you've got Lily. Her list is different. Chocolate, strawberries, candles, ice cream. Pure desire, almost. She actually sees the store changes as more of a treasure hunt, it feels like, need versus want.
Well, yes, there's that clear difference. Mark's focused on his list. Lily's kind of on this quest. But is Lily shopping just emotional? Or is she maybe buying into something else, like curating an identity?
Okay, let's follow that thread, that curated identity idea. It leads us straight to these lifestyle goods she mentions. She's interested in organic snacks, specifically kale chips. Now, organic,
Yeah.
for you listening, that word isn't just a label, right? It's powerful marketing. It signals quality, maybe health, justifies a higher price. It's kind of a trust signal.
Exactly, a trust signal. And Mark, he's our voice of reason here, he spots the slightly absurd marketing language straight away. Made with love and Himalayan salt, And he points out these trendy things are often just overpriced. That's less about the ingredients, maybe, and more about belonging to a certain lifestyle, that whole curated wellness thing.
And he's got reason to be skeptical. He apparently had this disastrous run-in before with a green smoothie. Said it tasted like blended grass and sadness, which, I mean, paints a picture.
Doesn't it just... So, okay, if Lily's kale chips are about aspiration,
Sure.
what about the basics, like Mark's coffee? Even there you see identity creeping in, just with different jargon.
Right. Mark goes for a medium roast. What does that signal? It's safe, reliable, classic maybe, balanced, predictable.
Balanced and predictable, which Lily immediately calls.
Balanced and boring, yeah. She wants the instant caramel latte sugar bomb.
Oh, it just shows,
Yeah.
even for the practical Mark, there's always this temptation, this escape route the store offers.
Definitely. And those descriptors, whether it's medium roast coffee or overpriced kale chips, they give products these really distinct identities that we kind of latch onto.
Okay, so that alignment, that leads us directly to maybe the most powerful strategy supermarkets use.
Yeah.
The layout, the way the store is arranged. It's not accidental, is it? It's deliberate, maybe even designed to be a bit confusing, to maximize exposure.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about encouraging those impulse buys.
Yeah.
Making you walk past things you didn't plan on seeing.
And you see it working perfectly in the source material. Lily's maybe going to get one ice cream. But Mark, yeah, even Mr. Pragmatic gets kind of swept up. He suggests getting both cookies and cream and salted caramel. He does. And then Lily makes him buy the kale chips he was mocking earlier, the ones he definitely didn't want.
It really shows how that store layout can nudge almost anyone into becoming a bit of a Lily, doesn't it? Think about it. When you last went shopping, where were those little extras placed? Right by the checkout, maybe?
Exactly. And the proof is right there in the final transaction they mention. The total comes to $48.20. And Mark himself notes it includes things I didn't plan on buying. So, mission accomplished for the store.
So let's wrap this up. What have we seen here? Shopping seems to exist on this spectrum, right? Between the plan list and the more spontaneous quest. We've unpacked some key terms. Layout, organic, medium roast, overpriced. These aren't just words. They're like psychological triggers.
Yeah, the main takeaway, I think, is just how effective these retail environments are. How the layout really can shape our behavior, nudging us away from our original plans. Even the most careful, list-driven shoppers, like Mark seemed to be, end up making impulse buys, often driven by aspiration.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you. If stores are constantly tweaking their layouts, strategically exposing us to things we didn't intend to buy, are we ever really truly in control of our shopping? Or are we always, deep down, on a quest designed not by us, but by the store? Something to think about next time you grab a cart.